Good evening, Chatham. Welcome to the April 1, 2025 meeting of the Chatham Select Board. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chair. Seeing no such notification, I'll proceed. Pursuant to a signing of a new law extending COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30, 2027, this meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. With that, my first order of business is to establish a quorum. Mr. Metters.
Present.
Mr. Dykens.
Present.
Ms. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Shell is present, and Mr. Nicastro.
Present.
This evening we have a modest agenda here. Two sets of minutes, the usual public announcements and agenda item hearings, agenda item requests. We have a public hearing with respect to installing a new handhole or base pole from, I guess that's, who's that? I don't know who it is. It's not here. In any event, then public comments on the business agenda. The business agenda, we have 6 items. We have a request for the use of town roads. We have a special one-day alcohol permit application. We have a presentation from the Cape Cod Aqua Fund Director Alice Ryan per the request of Select Board Member Davis. We have the annual review of the intermunicipal Nauset Beach Agreement. We are going to discuss the charge of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. And finally, we will consider appointment and reappointment interviews process. With that, I'll take a motion on the meeting, the minutes from the meeting of January 21.
So moved. Second.
Any comments? All those in favor, Mr. Nicastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
And February 11.
So moved. Second.
Any comments? Mr. Nicastro.
Yes, just one, Mr. Chairman. On page 14, the very bottom where it says the board thanked Mr. McMillan, I think we should also insert Dr. Carpenter. So the board thanked Dr. Carpenter and Mr. McMillan.
I think we can do that.
That's it.
With that amendment, I take it the motion stands and the second stands. All those in favor, Mr. Nicastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have public announcements and agenda item requests. First from the board. Anything from the board? Nothing from the board. Staff? Okay. From the public. Yes, please. Step to the podium if you would and introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Natalie Coleman Fuller, and this is Sherry Burson, and we're on the board of the Friends of Chatham Waterways. Part of FCW's mission is to educate the public about ways to improve the quality of Chatham's waters, which ties in directly with two of the objectives from the Select Board water management goals reaffirmed last October. For over 25 years, FCW has helped conduct water quality testing in our salt and fresh waterways from 24 sites in Chatham's ponds, harbors, and estuaries, and this publicly available data have been used to inform Chatham's sewer and road runoff management plans. While the town's water management efforts are critical, the data remain alarming, showing continued degradation of our salt and fresh waterways. And as Rob Faley reported last month, Chatham is experiencing a level 2 drought. So clearly more conservation efforts are needed throughout our community. So what can we do? During Earth Week, FCW will be launching the Chatham Water Pledge. Through this educational program, we aim to improve the health and quality of our fresh and salt waters by raising public awareness to conserve water and reduce the use of fertilizers and pesticides. The pledge is to skip the fertilizer, avoid pesticide, conserve water, and grow a Cape-friendly lawn. And more information can be found on our website, chathamwaterways.org. Each pledger will receive a yard sign for their yard, and we're looking forward to seeing these signs pop up in people's landscapes all over town, showing their commitment to improving the quality of Chatham's waters. We will be launching the Chatham Water Pledge campaign during Earth Week at the Orpheum on Wednesday, April 23rd at 10 a.m. Free of charge, we will be showing the Saving Our Ponds short video series produced by Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, followed by a panel discussion by Rob Faley and Renee Gagny as two of our 4 panelists. So thank you for the opportunity to make this announcement, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Anything from the board?
Looks great, sounds great. I think it's wonderful. Great messaging,
Absolutely.
great graphics.
Anything else from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hi, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you. How are you?
My name's Cheryl Wolf, and I'm here with Wendy Riveri. We are handling logistics for the 3rd annual Walk for Home in Chatham, and to benefit the Homeless Prevention Council. And it's going to begin at St. Christopher's Church on their private property.
Time out. I think you're on the agenda.
Oh, at a different place.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. You'll have a whole segment of the agenda by yourselves. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. That's okay, no problem. Anything else? I don't see anybody either online or on in the room, so we will move to our public hearing, and I'll ask the clerk, please, to read the public hearing notice.
Sure. Town of Chatham Select Board Public Hearing Notice. The Chatham Select Board will hold a public hearing at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025, in the large meeting room in the Town Office Annex, 261 George Ryder Road, Chatham, Mass., and remotely via Microsoft Teams platform to consider a petition from NStar Electric Company, doing business as Eversource Energy, to install a 41-foot plus or minus 1-3-inch PVC conduit encased in concrete from new handhole 27 over HA16 at the base of a pole 27 over 16 to customer installed handhole 27 over HB16 to provide new underground service to the customer located at 156 Cross Street. The public is welcome to attend the meeting in person or participate via link in the meeting's posted agenda. All interested parties are encouraged to participate. Sign the Select Board.
Thank you, and I see our favorite NStar representative. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. Marissa Jackson again with Eversource. So I was in communication with the Department of Public Works, the director, and he did advise that there's a moratorium along this roadway. Additionally, there is a gas main. So at this time, we would like to request to cancel our petition, and we've gone ahead and redesigned the plan to install a pole on private property with the approval of the customer.
Okay, I don't think we need to do anything other than say thanks for that, and we'll see you at the next public one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Have
very
a good
much.
evening.
Good evening. Next, we have a request for the use of town roads for the 7th annual walk for home on June 21. You're on. Oh, forgive me, you're not quite on. I meant to, I skipped. No, that one's on me. Public comments on the business agenda. In the room? Anybody online? Ms. Gibbs.
Yes, thank you very much. My comments refer to E, which is the charge of the economic development. It appears an operating premise is to increase tourism in shoulder seasons and to be a full-time community at the same time. It's not just this committee, but the mission statement of the select board and town manager and many other committees. I'd argue we cannot be a full-time cohesive community that attracts families and continue to encourage more tourism throughout the year. Chatham's becoming less conducive to families with children. They're an afterthought in practice. We're becoming a self-imposed transient community. Catering to tourists at the expense of full-time year-round residents is what is occurring. More tourism, in my view, is a Band-Aid, a quick fix. We receive revenue from the hotel motel tax and the meals tax. We do not receive any revenue from retail by state law. Many retailers don't own property or live in Chatham. The revenue we receive, plus ancillary permits that they may incur for the beaches, generates about $4 to $5 million in revenue. But what does tourism cost us? We've never done a zero-based financial cost-benefit analysis of the hard and soft costs of tourism, and I believe that should be a priority. And we should be ruthlessly objective about recognizing what we have done to Chatham because of tourism. Tourism has required larger municipal buildings, increased staff, parks and rec, public works and the harbor master, increased police and fire and rescue personnel, increased water and sewer usage. Because of tourism during peak periods, we have built wider roads, resulting in more pavement and fewer trees and green space. Bike paths on major roadways are everywhere. All of this is for tourists. West Chatham alone has 200 directional signs posted and on the pavement. George Ryder Road North is the poster child, effectively now a 3-lane road of pavement, now without trees because of the bike lane, cheap crooked fencing, and retaining walls instead of trees. We have major traffic congestion and backups for miles. Day trippers come when it's raining and when it's sunny. We are the destination on the Cape, no question about it. We don't need more advertising. The electric vehicle charging stations are planned for every beach, every playground, park, and ball field, the community center, the fish pier, and every parking lot. The stations at Eldridge are shocking in size, color, and number, taking up 8 spaces alone there, when parking in Chatham is already a huge problem. If you haven't seen them, you have to look at them and imagine them on our most beautiful locations, littered throughout town, on our beaches, everywhere, with our most spectacular views, all for tourists. It is a travesty. We spent $480,000 with no public discussion to renovate the town hall bathroom. When we have bathrooms at every downtown restaurant, the Eldridge Garage, Kate Gould Park, Oyster Pond Beach, the community center, all for tourists. How many bathrooms do they need? Shopping in Chatham for basic goods and services for full-time residents has become non-existent with inflated prices. All are now very expensive gift shops and dress shops and restaurants catering to tourists. We're required to go to Orleans or Hyannis for our very basic necessities. The Bank of America, Santander, and Rockland Trust have closed. A full-time community cannot function when the focus is tourism is the answer. With no high school, the Chatham Elementary School and the middle school need millions in repairs. The town is creating as many affordable housing units they can jam in to the available space, with very few 3 bedrooms for families, so that they can check off the 10% required by the state, at the expense of families who deserve a yard to play in. No one who knows school conditions or limited housing opportunities planned would choose Chatham to raise a family. Wear and tear on our infrastructure is incalculable. Water and sewer usage rates are going up. Cost to meet sewer and drinking demands will be in the hundreds of millions. Encouraging more tourism is not the answer. Tourism costs the town money and negatively impacts every aspect of our quality of life. For a sustainable, full-time community, Chatham is becoming unrecognizable. We are losing its unique character that drew people here in the first place. If you ask town meeting the question, do you want Chatham to be a full-time community with children or a tourist community? They would choose the latter. We cannot be both. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't see anybody else online. Now we can move on to the first item. I'm not kidding this time. The use of town roads for the 7th Annual Walk for Home on June 21. Welcome. Hello.
Start again. I'm Cheryl Wolf, and this is Wendy Riveri, and we are handling logistics for this year's Walk for Home to benefit the Homeless Prevention Council. This will be the 3rd year that we're holding it in Chatham, and it's becoming more popular every year, and it's nice to see. It'll begin on St. Christopher's Church property, where we'll have some tables set up. Saturday, June 21st is the date. We're gonna start at 9 a.m. in consideration of the shop owners. We had about 58 walkers last year. We're thinking 75 or maybe even a little more this year. We have been in contact with Lieutenant Sarah Harris, and we'll get a police detail if she determines that we need that. We were gonna contact her about 2 weeks before the event and give her the number of people who are coming. I think you all have the map of the route. I can read that out if you want me to. Start on Main Street to the Chatham Lighthouse, a right on Silver Oak, then a left on Water, right onto School, and a left to go onto Main Street going back to St. Christopher's Church. Will end on their property. And they've been very gracious with us. We can set up all our tables on their property, and when people sign in and get their T-shirt, it's, on their front lawn. So it's worked out great so far, and we were requesting permission from you to hold the event again on the 21st at 9.
Thank you.
Mr.
Questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have any question, but I'm going to make a motion, if that's okay.
That's okay.
I move that we approve the use of town roads for the Homeless Prevention Council's 6th Annual Walk for Home to be held on Saturday, June 8th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Oh. 21st, I see the typo, yeah, I read it and I read it wrong. Let me just change that to June 21st, 2025 at 10 a.m.
9 a.m., yeah.
9 a.m., oh boy.
We were.
Okay, did you get that, Kathy?
Sorry, that was my fault. I apologize. Yes,
Okay.
I have it.
But you got it,
Yes.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
Hold on, we haven't voted yet.
Saturday, the 21st,
Yeah.
2025, 9 a.m.
At 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Okay, well, we're all stumbling and fumbling here, so.
Second.
There you go.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dyken.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I hope everybody will sign up and walk, and you'll get to 100. Thank you. You're welcome to form your own team. Okay, okay, thank you.
Got it.
Thank you. Next, we have the one-day alcohol permit for Meet the Fleet. Jen Allen.
Hi,
oh,
it's
yeah,
Jen out.
welcome.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
sorry. I was bumped off the team, so I had to call in. Thank you so much. We have our first Meet the Fleet of 2025 for the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance on Wednesday, April 16th. And we are featuring Chatham Kelp Company, and we are requesting a one-day alcohol permit so that we can have our first 30 minutes as a reception before we move into the program for the rest of the evening.
So the service of alcohol will only be for that first half hour or so?
Yes, it's always the first 30 minutes, and
Yep.
then it is the rest of the program.
questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant a special one-day alcohol permit to Bridget Krug of the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance for the Meet the Fleet event being held on Wednesday, April 16, 2025, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 1566 Main Street, West Chatham.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Jen. You're all set.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation from Cape Cod Aqua Fund. Alice Ryan, welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you. Alice Ryan. I am the program manager for Cape Cod Aqua Fund, formerly known as the Community Septic Loan Program. We are located down at the Barnstable County Courthouse. We are in the Health and Environment Division. We work very closely with our friends and counterparts up on the base, Mass Tech. You may have had some of those folks out recently to help you discuss some of the systems and the sewering and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do here this evening is I'm just going to kind of give you a quick overview of some of the facts of the program, and then at the end, if you have any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer those. So a little bit about Cape Cod Aqua Fund. Cape Cod Aqua Fund provides low-interest betterment loans to Cape Cod homeowners faced with the cost of repairing, replacing failed septic systems, upgrading to what we call IA systems, and as well as connecting to town sewer. The goal of the program is to help as many homeowners as possible with financial assistance for these repairs and connections, as they can be somewhat expensive. So some of the questions that we see are what types of projects are covered under Aqua Fund. So up here we have some of the examples. So we cover septic system repairs. If somebody has a problem with the leaching field but the tank is fine, that's something that we could help them out with. Septic system upgrades, IA system installations, and of course, town sewer connections. We see this question a lot. A lot of people want to know what types of properties are eligible under the program. Currently, we only do residential properties. We do not do any type of commercial or small businesses. In the past, the program used to do a commercial property, but that has since changed. So we do work with single-family homes, multifamily homes, duplexes, condominiums, and apartments. And just a note at the bottom that just a reminder, currently, right now, we do not do anything with commercial properties. So here are some of the interest rates that are offered by the program. They do vary depending on whether you're a traditional Title V, if you're an IA system, or if you're a sewer connection. Currently, right now, the program does offer 0% and 2% interest rates for sewer connections only. If you are looking at a Title V replacement or upgrade or an IA system installation, you would be looking at a 4% loan. And we also work with homes that are on the market. So if the house was on the market or going on the market in the next month or two, that would put you at a 5% interest. And hopefully, as time goes by, and more people come online with the sewer and watershed permitting, we're hoping that we might see some type of change in the guidelines from the state and the Clean Water Trust funding as it pertains to the 0% and 2% for sewer connections. This is just an example of some of the projects that are covered in the loan. A lot of times people ask, well, you know, my yard was torn up. They dug it all up. Can I have it reseeded? Yes. They had to tear up a section of the driveway, whether the driveway might have been rocks or asphalt. You know, can we repair that? Yes. Sometimes we see with the sewer connections that there's plumbing outfitting that has to be done to the house. You can do that. Sometimes with the septic systems, if a well may be too close to the system, the regulations have changed that the well might have to be moved further away from that system, so well relocation is something that is also covered. We do not cover any type of incidentals that make upgrades to the property, so that's just something to keep in mind. So some of the quick program terms and conditions. It is a betterment loan, meaning there is a betterment agreement that goes on file with the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. It is basically considered a tax. There's a 20-year repayment term. Sometimes we see with houses on the market that, you know, we do the loan, but then they sell the property in 2 months. If there's a loan taken out and the property is sold within the first year, there is a $400 prepayment fee if the loan is paid off in 1 year. And those are just some of the broad conditions. And the last slide I have this evening is just some of the contact information for the folks at the office. I believe you may have been handed or emailed this presentation, so you would have that. And then if anybody has any questions?
Shereen?
Thank you for the presentation. It was really informative to our citizens and town residents. My question is, how much money is in the account?
Currently, there's 13 million. So the county just went through funding with the Clean Water Trust, and we were just approved for an additional $13 million in funding.
And is that a revolving, and every year it is a
Correct,
replenishment?
yes.
How many towns do qualify for?
Currently, we work with all 15 towns on Cape Cod. You know, every town is in a different phase of their watershedding permit or trying to put together their plan. So we do work with all 15 towns, and we work with all homeowners.
Do you foresee that with all the towns ramping up their sewage, do you foresee that this 13 million is just not going to be enough money?
There's the potential that could be, but with our state partners, Mass DEP, and the Mass Clean Water Trust, we have been assured down the road.
That we'll get more
funding
money?
will be there, yes.
The actual funding, or I'm just thinking, do we need to start advocating for more money for this program? That's where I'm
I mean, that
headed.
would certainly help. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't predict what may happen down the road at the state level. But like I said, we work very closely with our state partners, and for the foreseeable future, they don't anticipate a funding.
And currently, that 13 million, is it, do you deplete the funds every year, or, I mean, how?
It really depends. There's not a true way to gauge that because every project cost is different. So how fast we go through and loan that money out really depends on market conditions, you know, what's being charged for the install, you know, what's being charged for labor. Currently, what we're seeing right now is that the demand for connections, for IA systems, for septic, is far outpacing the contractors and the engineers. Unfortunately, we do have a crunch on the Cape for engineers. You know, we're even hearing from some of our homeowners that there's, you know, a year wait list just to get on the list with the contractor or an engineer. So there's a lot of different factors that go into the actual pricing and what a contractor, you know, would quote an individual homeowner.
Great, thank you for all your information.
Thanks, Shereen. Jeff?
Alice, that was great. It's very informative. I might have missed it, but is the 13 million an annual fiscal expenditure from the state? And so does it run till June 30th, or is it a
No,
calendar year
it's
deal?
revolving. It
So
is revolving.
Is it replenished with every budget, though?
Pretty much what we do as we forecast out in our modeling how fast we're going through the money, we can approach the Clean Water Trust at any point in time. So it's not within the regular budget cycle. It's something it's revolving and ongoing.
With the Clean Water Trust,
Correct.
That's the
Yes.
sole source of the funding for the program?
Yes. Yes. And
And
they're
then-
great to work with. They're
And then, and looking in arrears, have you run out, how many times do you have to go back and ask? I think you're right, you're absolutely spot on from the respect that the engineers there are too few engineers and
Right.
even contracting firms to get this stuff
You know,
done.
we're even seeing contractors and engineers come down from the North Shore.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so it's
yeah, there's an opportunity on the Cape for,
a huge opportunity,
Yeah,
yes, very much so.
I just don't want to run out of money. This is very informative, this is
Right.
going to be
And another
very
part
useful, I
to
think.
kind of keep in mind too is, you know, aside from the funding from the Clean Water Trust,
Yeah.
you know, as people are making their monthly payments back in,
Got it,
you know, we're then able to keep loaning back out as well.
got it. Very good, thank you, it's very informative.
Thanks. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Corey.
Just a quick question. So, going back to the slide, I said, what type of projects were covered under the program, and you list them. IA system installations, not IA system, repairs or maintenance.
That would be, the maintenance is a totally different subject.
Right, because
yes.
IA systems, I think that, initially they have to be inspected quarterly, and then I think it eases out to every 6
It all
months. It depends on the systems
Right.
and everything else, but I mean, there's a lot of details in these
Nuances
systems,
with
yes.
it, right, right. So when it comes to the O and M on the IA systems, that is something that's not rolled into a loan with Aquafund. That is something that's after the fact. But the installation and/or a repair to an IA system, that is something a homeowner certainly could come to us, and we would work with them to help them.
Okay, so the repairs are included or an option?
And the engineering as well, we get that question a lot from the different homeowners, you know, can I roll my engineering into the loan? Or, you know, I've paid for half of the engineering, but, you know, I still have to pay for the other half. So, you know, they can roll that in. An important piece of information as well is that all of the payments are made directly to the contractor or the engineer. We don't make any payments directly to the homeowner.
Dean?
Thank you. Thank you for
Oh,
the
wonderful.
presentation.
Thank you.
No, I have some questions.
Oh, sure.
Sorry. Thank you.
And for the record, I have a couple of questions
Sure,
too, so.
not a problem.
So the distinction between 0%, 2%, is that need-based or?
It is, and it's also currently right now just for sewer connections. So for sewer connections, you could potentially qualify either for a 0% or a 2%. In order to qualify for the 0% for a sewer connection, you would just have to be at 100,500. If you go over that dollar
That's this
amount,
annual income?
correct.
Okay.
If you go over that, then that would bump you up to the 2%. But currently, 0 and 2% are strictly just for the sewer connections right now.
How many sewer connections to date? Do you have an idea how many you've done or how many you're doing currently?
Oh, gosh, hundreds of them.
Okay.
And that's Cape-wide.
Have you done any in Chatham?
Yes.
How many participants in the whole program, not just sewer connections, are there currently?
How many borrowers do we have?
Yeah.
Probably somewhere in the range of 1,500 to 1,800 currently.
Okay.
And in the past year, we've lent out just shy of 65 million.
Okay.
65, just shy of 65. So that past year has been a record year for the program.
And is there a limit on the loan amount? How does that work?
No, there is no limit.
So if I'm doing a sewer connection and, I've got a grinder pump and everything else and.
That would be included. We
Yeah,
do cover
and
grinder
let's
pumps.
say it costs 10,000 and my neighbor's it's gonna cost that neighbor 20,000. They can borrow the full 20, that fella can borrow.
Right, and that's where it comes in. We recommend to all of the homeowners to get 3 quotes, because the pricing that we're seeing in current market conditions is extreme. So we always tell anyone when they're first applying with us, always get three quotes from 3 different contractors. The homeowner is able to choose who they would like to go with. But because of those price extremes, like you said, somebody could have 20,000, somebody else might have 15,000, and you want to shop around and do your homework for the best pricing.
And you pay the contractor.
Correct. All invoicing is submitted to our office, and then we would pay the contractor.
Do you see the contracts? Do you see the?
Yes.
What's the, is the payout period 20 years for every loan?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I have fewer questions than I did a minute ago, but I just heard, one of my questions was going to be the eligibility criteria. I heard you say that 100,000 is the cutoff.
100,500 for the 0% sewer connection, and then over that for the 0 to go to the 2 for sewer connections, it's over that.
And what's the level at which you're no longer eligible?
Honestly, we work with everybody because we're trying to meet the clean water goals.
Oh, so there's not an income eligibility limit that.
Right.
So, to put it bluntly, rich people can get these loans as
We
well.
work with everybody.
Okay, and that's good. I understand the logic of it, but I had been under the impression that,
That would just change where you fall in the interest rates.
okay. So I was interested in just following up a little bit the questions that Shireen asked. How many, do you have any idea how many loans and/or how much money you lent out last year in total, just in 1 year?
Last year, we were just shy of the 65 million.
Oh, that was the 65?
Right, it was
Okay.
the record year for the program.
Okay, and do you know how many loans?
Currently, we have about 1,500 to 1,800 loans.
That's all of them outstanding, but I'm trying to get a handle on how many for the year.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
Okay,
Honestly, I
okay.
don't have that off the top of my
Okay.
head.
And then we haven't designed our need-based program, but it will be tied to people will only be eligible if they have been qualified and granted a loan from you folks. The question is, how can we be helpful, or what do you have any suggestions about how we might structure our sort of add-on program that would be helpful
That's a
from your point of view?
wonderful suggestion. We do know of a few other towns currently on the Cape that are trying to implement or have already implemented, like what they call a grant or a subsidy program.
Right.
I know off the top of my head, Orleans.
Yeah, Orleans, I think, is certainly
Right.
one, yeah.
So in that particular instance, the town kind of has stricter guidelines than what we do. We do not do any credit checks at the
Right,
program.
right.
So we ask homeowners to provide a copy of last year's tax return, a
Right.
copy of the mortgage statement.
Right,
We're not doing credit checks or anything like that. And what we recommend to some of the towns is that if there's a way that they can help offset some of the cost up front, for example, engineering, where we're seeing that big backlog of engineers, some of the engineers are now coming to the homeowners and saying, well, you have to put it down a deposit of 50%, but we're not going to get to your job for 10 or 12 months.
right,
So that would be an excellent way to help the residents
Right.
get the process going, get them on the list, get the engineering, started, because that is the first step in the
Right.
process.
right.
I know some of the income requirements, some of the other towns have kind of discussed are a little more stringent. But certainly, they've also discussed that, them approving something, you would have to go through Aquafund or have approval from Aquafund.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that we have that requirement, is because we want to piggyback on your administrative infrastructure. We would actually have to staff up to deal with the eligibility assessment beyond what you do. So that's something
Right.
we'll have to deal with
Right.
if we decide to do it that way. So I think that's all I had, but thank you very much. This has been extremely informative, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you as we work on our project. Oh, yeah. Is that Ann Ryan on, would like to ask a question?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, she's a
Thank you
member
very
of the
much,
Water and
Mr.
Sewer
Chair.
Advisory Committee. I think we'll ask her to go ahead. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I just have a quick question. I assume these loans are secured loans, and you file a lien against the property. Is that how that works?
That is correct. So we actually have the homeowner sign what is called a betterment agreement. And once we have that back, that betterment agreement goes on record at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. And then, of course, once the loan has been paid in full, we then file a discharge for that agreement at the registry as well.
And if the homeowner suffers some sort of financial reversal and can't make the payments, what happens then? Do you foreclose or what?
No, the county is not in the business of foreclosing on anyone. That's something we have not done, and we would do everything we could to try to work out something with the homeowner to try to keep them on track. But of course, if the property is sold, whether it's because you put your house on the market or there was some catastrophic event like that, the loan would need to be paid off at closing, just like when you
Okay.
sell your house now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Thanks, Ann. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your coming out this evening. Next, we have, the annual review of the intermunicipal Nauset Beach agreement. I don't know if we have anybody presenting here. There you are. Welcome, Mr. Berman.
Thank you. Greg Berman, your Director of Natural Resources. Just a follow-up, we had our last meeting on October 29th. That was the annual review in which the board took a look at the agreement, decided that, nothing needed to be changed at that point. This is the expiration of the previous 3-year agreement is going to be June 30th. This would potentially create a new agreement very similar to the previous agreement that would extend it another 3 years. I provided you a red line copy. There's really only 2 differences, if you would call it that. One is we don't use ATVs out there anymore. We use pickup trucks. So we wanted to take that language out to, show compliance. The other is just to specify that during the annual review, it can happen independently or jointly, which is kind of how we read it. We just wanted to clean up the language. But basically, things are working very well out there right now. We worked well with Orleans, whether it's the beach rangers, whether it's natural resources, the sticker office. So, yeah, basically, we recommend that, we keep it going.
Any questions or thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yeah.
might, Shereen and I have been involved in this in the past. There's really nothing changing. The beach is being extremely well-run in a collegial manner. I think Greg's getting along well with Nate over there in Orleans, and they're communicating well. The beaches are running really well, so I recommend, and we recommend that we just sign this agreement and continue for another 3 years, and when it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I appreciate your efforts, Greg, and things are going well. The beach is being managed well.
Sounds good. I'll take a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Thanks very much, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep. The Economic Development Advisory Committee charge. Do you want to start, Katie?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just in anticipation of upcoming interviews for potential appointees to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, staff wanted to provide some information to the board members for consideration. If you recall, at your December 5th meeting, you began to discuss whether or not a change to the charge was warranted, and at that meeting, it was determined that perhaps recruiting new members would be appropriate first, and then perhaps revisiting the charge. Also at that meeting, Kathy had mentioned to the board members that we had done some research on what other communities' Economic Development Committee charges were, and so we wanted to provide that information as well. So if the board is so inclined to want to have a discussion tonight, that's fine. It was just, we wanted to make sure that this information was provided for upcoming interviews.
Mr.
Yeah, go ahead, Shereen.
Thank you for all the different towns' charges. I think for me, I'd like to get the committee up and running and do some recommendations. But I really want to make something clear about what economic development actually means in terms of Chatham. I think we'd all agree that it's not just about tourism. It is about the economic development and welfare of the town, including infrastructure and various needs that year-round businesses need. I know the Chamber's been working very hard on redefining their charge into a more year-round sort of aspect. We, as a board, have been working on that, and perhaps that's something we need to talk to the economic development about. In the past, they have done very needs-based, specific projects for us, particularly on water rates and charges and things like that. Chatham's a year-round community. I was looking around. People don't. They have to step back for a second and look. Every single neighborhood in this town has a year-round component to it. North Chatham is thriving as a year-round community. South Chatham has restaurants that are open year-round now and small businesses. West Chatham, as well as downtown. I don't consider an economic development committee to have it to be about tourism. And I just wanted to make that really clear because, working with community sustainability is something that's really important in my world. And I think a committee like this could have some great benefits too, looking at how we achieve those goals.
Thanks. Anybody else? Corey?
I just want to put my 2 cents in on this process because I feel I've always been a big advocate for getting people to volunteer for boards and committees, okay?
I'm sorry for
I've been a big advocate for having members serve on boards and committees all throughout my terms here. I'm a little confused. First of all, I didn't realize that we had 4 active members on the EDC. I didn't realize we had enough for a quorum. But I've been under the impression for quite some time we were short on membership, so that was an interesting little tidbit in the packet. Unfortunately, the EDC has not been active for years, and I really want to do something to kind of set a fire in getting this committee going in the short term, because if we're not going to get it going in the short term, I don't want to keep spinning our wheels. I would love to see the group up and going again, but we've been talking about this for couple years now on this board. And if we are successful, I want to be crystal clear on their charge. When we get to the point, if there's enough members who are committed to serving on the committee, that we, the select board, are crystal clear what the charge is for them. Because one of the kind of criticisms that I believe has been out there is some of their work overlaps a little bit too much into other boards and committees, and we want to keep it constructive and productive. So if we can get a couple more members to step forward and want to serve on this committee, wonderful, but I don't want to keep spinning my wheels for too long of a time, because we've been talking about this for years.
Shereen?
I agree that we've spun our heels and it's been our responsibility. We need to charge them with some projects, and we have tons of things that we could be looking at that we have on our plate. And I think that it would be helpful to encourage more people to be part of this committee. I think there's some interest in a couple of people that have called me, and get them up and running. And let's really think hard as a board. What are some of the things we want this committee to be working on specifically that would inform us to make better decisions? Housing, water, you name it. I mean, we have committees looking at that, but from a dollars and cents side, I think it would be really helpful.
which is fine philosophically, but mechanically, if we have 4 members who could have been meeting, there's no urgency from the members. So do we have a clear understanding if the 4 members listed in this packet still want to serve, are willing to serve, are eligible to serve?
I'm going to answer that. As the liaison,
Yep.
I have been informed, and I honestly don't remember exactly with respect to whom of these people, that not everybody is in fact eligible. But I've also been informed, and we were informed when Luther came in front of us now 2 years ago, I think it was, that there was just a complete loss of, well, not only direction, but energy to get together and do anything. And I think there was an element in that conversation that he brought to us that of disinterest or being disabled on the part of the existing committee. But I agree with you. I want to push back a little bit, Corey, on the notion that we could convene these 4 people and have a meeting tomorrow. I question whether that's the case.
Okay, because I've had conversations, and I'm under the impression 1 is possibly not eligible, which, right.
I don't know which one, but I have that impression.
And another one may not have a desire for a long-term commitment, and then whatever. It'd be nice to kind of understand our foundation first before we get too ahead of ourselves, I guess.
Fair enough. Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what's before the board tonight is to discuss the charge of the committee. Last time I checked, it's been a while, the committee hasn't met since, I think, February of 2022. And I know that previously, as is evident from the material in the packet, the committee weighed in on some issues that were before the Chatham 365 task force, and a lot of those recommendations were adopted and implemented. I don't know how you populate the committee, but if you look at the model we did with the Aunt Lydia's Cove Committee, we populated the committee first, and we said to them, come up with a draft charge and come back to us. And I think that's what I would like to see done. I do want to say something, as I listened carefully to both what Shireen was saying and what Ms. Gibbs was saying earlier, and I think there are elements of accuracy in both sets of comments. And I would hope that the charge, I'm looking at the existing charge, which does make reference to, quote, without creating significant adverse impacts on our community character or natural environment. And I think I'd like to see a charge that's expanded a little bit to make very explicit that we're supporting the year-round character of the town and year-round sustainability of year-round residency in the town. And, we certainly welcome tourism, and it's important for the community, but we also have to keep in mind the potential impacts on our infrastructure to support the tourism. There's always a tension there. So I just really wanted to throw that out as an idea. But back to the process, my suggestion is that we try to populate the committee. I don't know whether, it's currently 7 people. And I don't know if you're going to get 7, but if you can, fine. And then task them to come up with a draft charge and present it to us. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff.
So to populate the committee, just to follow up, do we solicit interest, or do we kind of prompt it with and seed it with a model like Dennis, where they appoint, one member of the planning board and a member of the chamber of so, and in terms of what the charge is, in my mind, the charge of this committee is to promote, support, and build, if you will, year-round economic development, year-round, not just summer, but year-round. That means attracting business, that means building business, it means creating jobs. That's always been at the core of what I thought the EDC was. Now, it was wonderful to go back and read the materials in the package when Luther was chair, and the kind of stuff they got done and the interest and the intelligence of their reports. We implemented a whole bunch of that stuff, or a lot of it. And the reporting was excellent. But to Shireen's earlier point, we gave them a specific project to sink their teeth into, and they did. It was also a function of Luther, being an active and intelligent chair that wanted to get something done. So populate it, great, let's populate it, but who we got, who's in, do we solicit interest? Do we throw it out there? We've been at this marker before. We've had this very conversation before. So, I have some idea. I mean, we should talk to some business people too, and to young people, and the year-rounders.
Dean?
I just want to respond to your suggestion. I think it'd be a great idea if we included on this committee, a representative of the planning board, for example, maybe some other boards. Because one thing I was always concerned about with Luther's presentations, as brilliant as he is,
Yep.
is they were sort of working in a silo on their own. And I think it's important for this committee to understand, the implications of what's going on over at the planning board in terms of development in the town and in other boards. So I think it's a good idea to have representation, and maybe we can sort of start to populate the committee with some of those folks. Anyway, that's my thought.
Yeah, I'm going to try to synthesize what I like about what I've just heard here from pretty much all of you. First of all, to me, I guess the place where I start is what happened with Aunt Lydia's Cove. We had a lot of we must have had 3 or 4 meetings in which the issue was, are we going to disband that committee and just do away with it? And we went from there to a point where, we have, and thanks to recruitment efforts on this board, we have very impressive people. We have clear leadership there. We have, a functioning committee that came back to us with a charge. It is up and running. That is the model that I have in mind for economic development. I think, you can talk about getting somebody from planning or, any of the committees around the town, but you still have to go recruit that person and get input from them and an understanding for them of what it is that we're looking for. And we're in a conceptual realm here at the moment. And it's definitely about jobs. It's definitely about year-round. Yes, why is it year-round? Among other things, because we want more kids in the schools, and you don't get that with seasonal people. Your point, Dean, about the tension is clearly the case, but I think we have to recognize. We all talk about ours is a seasonal economy. And that's how people feed them. So that's how people make a living here. And we can't just completely ignore that. I'm not saying that we want to, emphasize that or try to grow that to the detriment of the character and the feel of the community. But we do want to have a viable economy that will keep people able to live a decent life. And we're not, for everybody, we're not quite there yet. And part of that's housing, part of that's jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm sorry?
It's just the impact of our decision-making.
Yeah, no, that's right.
The impact of our decision-making and
Exactly.
how it impacts the everyday person.
And we want kids who go away to school and acquire skills and acquire capabilities, not to try to drag everybody back here, but we want kids to come back here and build a life here as well. So that, to me, those are all things that I think go into what we would hope would be coming from the Economic Development Committee. But I start with the fact that we have to find some people with the energy and the vision and just to get up and go to say, yeah, I want to be part of building something here in the way of an Economic Development Committee, and have them tell us what they're thinking as well. I think that's very much of a dialogue before we get to the last, to where we think we are, the way we are with Aunt Lydia's Cove, or what its new name is, which I've forgotten now. But and I will say, I have one person who's originally volunteered. You've met her, Corey, who I think is terrific. I think she's on next week. We have another candidate that's going to come in for an interview. And I think among all the things that we do here, one of the things that we just have to do is be out recruiting and try to build that committee out. And if it has to be only 5, so be it. But I would much prefer that it stays at 7 because that's just that much more energy. So those are my thoughts. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Next case. Next is you're on, Kathy.
So it's that time of year. We were just talking committees, but we're looking to kind of discuss what the board would like to implement for the reappointment interview process for those committee, board, commission members whose terms are expiring June 30th of 2025. Letters have been sent to all candidates who are up for reappointment. I am slowly hearing back from them expressing interest. There's so far been 2 that are going to be stepping down, 2 are considering, and everyone else so far that I've heard from is expressed interest. What you have before you is past practice, and I'm trying to better coordinate from last year's experience, keeping in mind how to kind of coordinate the interviews that the board would like to interview. I know one committee does have someone who's expressed being reappointed, but also a new candidate who would like to be considered. In that instance, based on what you have in front of you, the board would have to schedule that interview. I'm currently also going through the files to make sure there are no other candidates who may need to be considered for any other seats. But if the board would like to determine who you would like to interview, how you would like that all to work so that I can kind of start preparing that and get that done before June 30th this year. That is the goal.
Can you tell us what the committees are that have people saying that they'd like to retire?
Certainly. One is, I believe, actually, hold on, let me just filter my list here. Cultural Council and Council on Aging. One member on the Council on Aging has indicated they will not be seeking reappointment. And then I believe, so yes, Council on Aging, Cultural Council, and then someone on the Traffic Safety Committee is still thinking, and another member of the Council on Aging is also up in the air as to whether or not they'll be seeking reappointment. So it's a potential of 2 Council on Aging new members and 1 Cultural Council member that you would need to find.
But you have one who's interested in COA? No. Oh, you don't have anybody?
At this time, no.
Oh, okay.
It's the Cemetery Commission, I believe. There are 3 on the, yes, there are 3 up on the Council on Aging. I've only heard from 2 of the 3 so far. Letters only went out the end of last week, so over the weekend, my email was populating with, yes, please consider me. So I'm keeping track of who is responding. And again, typically the board has looked at regulatory boards to re-interview anybody who's interested in being reappointed to a regulatory board, any pending applicants to regulatory boards, and then any advisory or non-regulatory board where somebody else is pending in addition to that person has typically been what you've done, but again, it's up to the board's discretion.
Any thoughts? Dean?
Yeah, I mean, Kathy has laid this out very carefully in terms of what we've done, and we've sort of hashed this around multiple times. I think I'm okay with the way this is set out. I just had a question. When do you anticipate we would actually take votes? Because I have some thoughts on that.
I'm open to your suggestion.
Well, we have 2, I brought the committee handbook with me that Tim Roper actually revised many years ago. And we have all these committees, and some of them are purely advisory committees, and others are called statutory committees, which is essentially the regulatory boards, and a handful of others that are set forth in statute, like the Airport Commission, the Council on Aging, the Parks and Rec, the Affordable Housing Trust. Cemetery. I mean, I think that if I would just posit that we could take votes if we have everybody interviewed and so forth, and as soon as it's ready for those particular cases in regards to the advisory committees. But I would prefer that on the statutory committees that no appointments be made until the board reorganizes on May 16th, after the town election. We have, I think that's the fair thing to do. I don't recall what we've done before, I really don't, whether we've actually made appointments to any type of committee before the board reorganized or not, and if others remember, I just don't remember what we've done. Typically, we've had such a backlog of interviews that we find ourselves in June, late June or even early July, before the 4th of July, and we've made some appointments. But I just wanted to throw that out. I mean, I don't feel strongly about it, but it just seems to me the appropriate thing to do. Thank you.
Corey?
I think our past practice really hasn't been consistent every year, from my memory. And I do remember years that we've been scrambling to, get interviews at the very end, and it's been pretty tedious, to be honest with you. And I think that's where we had some previous conversations, because we've, interviewed the same person for the 9th time, the Frank Messina clause, it's, so, I just want an efficient system. My only 2 cents for the interviewing process, especially for a lot of new candidates, is that, we kind of give them a clear understanding. This is when you're going to expect a kind of a response to their applicant. Because unfortunately, I think there's been times, I can't recall the specifics, but we've had people interview, and then another person interviews in like another month. And it's like, it almost gets drawn out, and that initial applicant is like, am I in, am I out, are you considering me? So I just want to keep an efficient system from that perspective, and try to, not overdo the interviews, but regulatory, I think the system we have in place is what we should keep, because I don't want to shortchange that process or change that process. So I think what we've been doing is worked. And as far as, I know another question to further into the notes here is, regulatory, if we can all make it, that's the preference.
Need a
Some of the
quorum, though,
advisory,
right?
I mean, if there's at least 2 of us, I mean, preferably, on the advisory, at least there's 2 of us. I think we all try to make as many as we can, so we haven't had an issue with that. So what is our standards right now are fine. So I don't think there's any need for a changing that perspective, so.
Just a question, are you talking about not making any appointments until after May 16th?
Only for statutory committees.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, we just had a conversation about EDC.
Yeah,
and
no.
Let's get on it and
I
do something, and,
I would suggest drawing a distinction between statutory and which is essentially the regulatory and a handful of others.
Jeff, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I want some clarity, Dean. If a commission member or a board member is up for renewal, their term expires June 2025. Are you suggesting that we wait for their reappointment, their nomination reappointment, until after we reorganize? Or are you saying that, I've never recalled us doing that, ever?
No, I don't think we've ever had a rule or anything like that. I know we haven't. I don't recall what our practice has been. Yes, that would be my suggestion, but.
I don't think we need to do that.
I'm not sure I'm clear on what the purpose of that is.
The only other comment I have is Corey mentioned it, and it's absolutely correct, the Frank Messina rule. I mean, some of us have literally interviewed Frank, 5 times. I mean, and if he's up for reappointment and he wants to do it, and, we really need, you want to bring him.
I know, we all love Frank, right? But there has to be an accountability factor that we do hold a standard to.
Right.
That's why I think we need to interview people, especially when it is on a regulatory committee. This is no reflection on Mr. Messina at all.
No, it just, sometimes I think we're rubber stamping, we're taking up time when we needn't to. Anyway, I'll be quiet. I think this is fine.
So just to clarify, so statutory and regulatory boards, you would like to continue with interviewing anybody who's up for reappointment. Advisory committees, if they've expressed interest and there are additional candidates, re-interview them along with the new candidates. If they're an advisory board, but no one is looking for a seat, are you okay if I put together a slate for reappointment, so you can do all of them in one? Is that acceptable?
Can you do a slate, and then if any particular board member has an issue with or concern, we just pull it out and we'll address it
Of course.
accordingly?
I was just thinking that might help with that process and help streamline it a little, to your point, Mr. Castro.
I think it
getting
does,
all-
I think it would, Kathy.
Okay,
No, I think that's fine.
okay, thank you.
We would still require 3 members at a regulatory interview.
Yeah.
That's what we've done, and we abided by it.
And I guess one other point of clarification. Currently, I've been scheduling for Tuesdays before your meeting, which is allowed for 2. Do you want me to continue with the Tuesday, but maybe start at 4 where possible? Do you want a different date, time? I know Tuesdays seem to work best for the majority of you, so.
I mean, Corey is busy too. If we can keep it to Tuesday, I will make an earlier schedule work rather than trying to split the time.
Right.
It's just too much.
Rather than go to another day, Sherry?
Yes.
So when you say earlier, you mean maybe like 4:30 as
Yeah.
opposed to 5?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we should be able
And
in an
I-
hour to get,
And I think the interview process can be streamlined too. I think we can, we can ask pointed questions and, allow for like a brief, just to frame it up a little different, so an interviewee does not have to go on for 20 minutes.
right?
Unless we want them to, but, I think we control the narrative and the questions versus, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on that? I would then
Motion
take
to
a
adjourn, motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Second.
Okay, Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Medhurst.
Aye.
Good night, Chatham. We are adjourned at the very early hour of 6:42.